Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are and wherever you're going. Welcome to the Dierks and Denver Podcast. As always, I'm Dierks here with my best friend and co host, Denver, today on March the 24th, 2021. We're talking all about the NCAA tournament rounds 1 and 2 today. So much to get into. But before we do, I have to know, Denver, how are you today?
It was a fun weekend for the most part. I got to watch most of the games, or not all of them, but the good ones anyway. So overall, it was a good weekend. Into the week, but pretty good too. I'm ready for next weekend. I'm ready for the Sweet 16. I'm excited. I genuinely like college basketball.
I knew we'd get him, folks. I absolutely knew we'd get him. And now that we're here, it feels
It's
so
the we got
sweet.
a meme.
We
Of
did.
course,
We
we got him.
absolutely got him. So what we're gonna do is we're going to go region by region through briefly through every game, but there's definitely some games we have highlighted that we are going to talk more about today. And unless you have any other words before we get into it, Denver, I think we just start it.
Yeah, let's go for it, man.
Perfect. We are not going to start with Gonzaga's region just for the way they scheduled it. All of the games on the right hand side of the bracket started the tournament on Friday last week. So we are going to actually start in the top right if you're ever following along with Baylor's region, the South region. And we started out and had Baylor taking care of Hartford, 1/16. Obviously, no shock there by a pretty comfortable margin, 20 something points. Nothing real to talk about there, in my opinion, other than, I guess, honestly, like, I didn't know anything about Hartford. I think they're one of the schools that this is their first ever tournament. And so
Oh,
they
wow.
did a good job of like not getting overcome by the moment, even though it's a little weird this year. But Baylor kind of went on like a big run at the end of the first half. Um, and then to begin the second half, that's where they really pulled away. But good on Hartford for getting here, right? We have to give credit where credit is due.
Hey, they didn't have to play in to get wrecked, so
This is true.
good for them.
They didn't have to play in. And then the 8-9 matchup to decide who matched up with Baylor in the round of 32 was Wisconsin North Carolina in the 8-9 game. Now, I don't know about you, Denver, and I know maybe you didn't get a chance to watch these two teams much during the regular season, but I thought this was going to be a much closer game than it ended up being.
See, I didn't. I'm honest. I didn't know shit about him. I didn't even watch this game. I will say this though. My close friend here, where I live, he is a huge North Carolina fan. Huge. And he's like, "Yo, pick him, pick him." So I picked him, and then they got mollywopped by 20. And I was like, "I'm never listening to your ass again. This was a terrible pick." Like they got steamed, man. They got rolled.
They really did. Brad Davison, the guard who I swear has been at Wisconsin for about 14 seasons now. I figure he's got to be running out of eligibility eventually, right? He absolutely went off. Wisconsin's biggest problem all season. I mean, you could say this about a lot of teams, but especially a team as talented as Wisconsin is. They're good enough to beat you. They just don't make shots sometimes. But they were making literally everything against Carolina, and that's why they ran up 85 points and won by 23 to honor Michael Jordan, obviously against his alma mater.
Yes.
They won by
Yes.
they won by 23. Moving on, we had the popular upset pick of number 12 Winthrop over number 5 Villanova. And I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know that anyone told Villanova that they were going to be upset in this game. And if they did, they just
I
didn't they did ignored it straight up.
here's let me be honest with you. I was intoxicated for this game. Like I don't even remember it happening or taking place. I don't even know where Winthrop is. So yeah, good for them, I guess. They they made it. I mean, that says at least they can say that.
if it's any consolation to the people who picked the upset of Winthrop, I mean, Winthrop kept this close the whole way. It was a really entertaining basketball game. But at the end of the day, Villanova thought they were going to be, or many people thought Villanova was going to be weakened considerably by the loss of Colin Gillespie. They didn't look good down the stretch, particularly in the few games they played after he got hurt. But they played really, really well, considering, against Winthrop, a very good team. And I think the star of the game was Jeremiah Robinson Earl. I mean, he had 22 points, 11 rebounds.
What a name.
He's a great name. Great basketball name.
That is a great name. He should have played in like the 70s. I bet he would have been a star.
For sure. And now we move in. We finally get to throw it to a different graphic other than just our two beautiful faces, if you're joining us for the video product of this. The first, in terms of the way we're approaching it, the first big upset of the tournament.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I had them. I picked this game.
I'll give it to you. You got completely ass lucky, and you can't convince me otherwise, but you did pick it. And for that, I give you much credit. We had the North Texas Mean Green upsetting Purdue. I had faith in Purdue as kind of the team who was supposed to carry the water, so to speak, for the state of Indiana in a tournament that's all based in the greater Indianapolis area. I was like, Purdue's gonna ride that. They're gonna make a typical Purdue Sweet 16 run or deeper. And no, that did not happen. That did not even come close to happening. The Mean Green really controlled this game for a lot of it.
Yeah, so my dumbass didn't have the score. I didn't write down the score for these games because I was an idiot last night.
I believe this was 78-69 in overtime.
Yes, I have that note. All three of these South games that we're about to talk about went into OT, which is very interesting.
The South region was great to watch on opening day. Absolutely great to watch. I have a highlight we're gonna play for y'all if you missed any of it. The Mean Green's star player, Javion Hamlet, this man was cooking. He was truly cooking. You see it here. 24 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists. The lefty. He's got a nice little lefty game. The floater game, too. It was fun to watch. Let's peep this real quick.
As Hamlet swings it to Bell, outside for Murray. Back to Hamlet again, and he got it again. Back-to-back threes for Javion Hamlet.
Because he thinks it's a pick and roll, and then the big guy slips out of it, and Hamlet gets downhill.
Particularly when he goes to his left hand. That's a big-time move. 17-footer, it's good.
They have the size advantage. Or Edie, you can take that out of play.
Deadens it off the back of the iron. Hamlet has 16. It sure might be. Watch this move. 13 seed is 3-5 in the last 2 years. Hamlet, he was just left open.
And he made the decision in that situation.
We love Dad. We absolutely love the Dad. He was the star of this. Absolutely. Oh,
you know what the star of that was for me was that other announcer I never heard in my life. He had such a weird tone of voice.
It's Avery Johnson.
That's Avery Johnson. I didn't know that's what Avery Johnson sounded like.
Yeah, that's former
oh my God.
Former NBA point guard, and I know him best as the Alabama men's basketball coach for several years, Avery Johnson.
Well, that's news to me. That is real news to me. I couldn't get over it. I was kind of distracted. But yeah, Javion Hamlet. In my notes, I have him as like the key player for this game. 24 points, 12 rebounds. In one of those highlights, he passes to Bell. Bell's also the second player I've highlighted for this game with 16 points. Nice little combo. One thing I've noticed watching and going through stats is there's not a lot of like bench play in college basketball. And if there is, they don't score at all, like ever. So to have like another like starter to come out and have 16 points is very good. I can see it. They deserve to win.
The teams with exceptional bench play really stand out. I mean, we have a few of them here moving forward. But you're right. I mean, really, the guys who do all the work in college basketball, for the most part, I mean, you should get a lot of production from your starters if you're going to be a good team. And that's what the Mean Green did. The other big thing that I want to mention is they had a bad matchup here, right? Travion Williams, the big man for Purdue, I think he was first team All Big Ten. I know he was All Big Ten on one of the teams. Dude's an absolute animal, and they, for much of the game, held him in check. You look at his final stat line, and it is a very respectable 14 points, 13 rebounds, and 5 assists. But, I mean, for a dude who probably could have beat up on this team a little bit with his size, because he's a very, like, thick, big man. I really like his game. North Texas did a great job defending him and keeping him as not the guy who's going to beat you, right? Jaden Ivey, the freshman for Purdue, really impressed in this game. Kept him in it for a lot of it. He was really carrying them, 26 points. But it just wasn't enough. Once they forced overtime, Purdue didn't score in overtime until there was like 30 seconds to go. And obviously, if you're doing that, unless you're playing just excellent defense yourself, you're not going to win. It went from 61 at the end of regulation to North Texas being up 72-61 before Purdue was able to even do anything. And by that point, the game was well and truly over.
One stat that really stuck out to me, there's two, actually. North Texas was -9 in rebounding compared to Purdue. They did not rebound well. Another thing that North Texas did well, though, was they only had 5 turnovers all game compared to 11 that Purdue had. I thought those two really stick out, especially in college. I feel like those turnovers, like in all sports, turnovers really matter. But one thing I feel that emphasizes college basketball is turnovers. If you can handle the ball well, you typically win. So when you have 11 turnovers against a number 13 seed, who may or may not be good, may or may not get lucky that night, 11 turnovers is not going to do it. Wrap it in, One thing that also stuck out to me was Purdue only shot 36% from the field for the whole game, which from a higher ranked team, I guess I'm expecting too much. This is my first year really watching this, so I'm expecting a lot from these higher ranked teams. While North Texas shot 47%. So those are some key stats from the team-wise. While we emphasize individual players like Ivy and Hamlet, this is a team sport, so.
Oh, absolutely. I think that was North Texas. At the end of the day, they deserve to win that game, and I'm glad they did. Whether you pick with them or not, what I really like about March Madness is it gives the lower teams the opportunity to do great things, and that's kind of why, hint hint, nudge nudge, as Denver might say. I really hope that the college football playoff expands a little bit to let some new faces in. You're not probably ever going to see many lower conference teams, but this is fun, right? If you can get more of this in other sports, I think that's a great thing. But I suppose we move on to the next game, Texas Tech versus Utah State. Now, this was a tough game to watch in the first half. It was kind of a rock fight. Neither team was making a lot of shots, but especially Texas Tech in that regard. But the Red Raiders, as the higher seeded team, as the team who the last time we had a tournament, they were in the national title game. Now, obviously, several faces have changed from that team. But you expect them to do big things under Chris Beard in March, and they did. They forced 22 turnovers from Utah State and scored 42 points in the second half for a team that's not really known for its scoring. It's known for its defense. I was really glad to see Texas Tech come out ahead in this one.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I'm just following your lead on that one. I didn't have notes on it. I forgot the game. Like there's so many games that I genuinely forgot that a lot of them happened.
Let's be real,
So,
folks.
I'm glad
48 games in 4 days is a lot of games. Unless you have supreme dedication, you're probably going to let a couple slip through the cracks. Now, I am going to humble brag here. I do believe I caught at least 8 minutes of every game all weekend. I was in absolute prime form.
Rackhead.
I was absolutely in prime form in terms of my March Madness watching ability. Come at me. I absolutely love this time of year. I've said it so many times in the last couple of weeks on the podcast. We're going to keep moving forward because it's it's fun. And so since Denver didn't have a ton to add on the Texas Tech game, but maybe, just maybe, he's going to talk to us about Arkansas taking on Colgate and surviving a little bit of a scare there.
Oh, man. Arkansas. I had Colgate winning, I think. I don't know if I did. I know I filled out a paper bracket at work, and I had Colgate somehow going to the Elite Eight, and I don't know why. Like, it's there at work, and I'm just like, they're going to do it. They're going to go all the way. Somehow they're going to make it to the Elite Eight. They're going to do it. And they didn't do it, so now I'm kind of sad, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think the thing here is Colgate really... And I think I said in the preview more or less, right, that in the bracket pick that we did, that this might be like the first game to 104. And while we didn't quite get there, this game was quite fast-paced. They just didn't make as many shots as either team normally does. And I think the final score was something I should have written all the final scores down. I just wrote the matchups in my notes. But it was like 85-68 or somewhere in that realm. Forgive me if I'm a couple points off. Justin Smith for Arkansas had a huge game. He nearly dropped a 30 bomb. 29 points, 13 rebounds, 5 steals. Fun fact for you, Denver. He's a former Indiana Hoosier who transferred to Arkansas. So this is kind of his homecoming. Maybe he was showing out a little bit because, as we'll get to here very shortly, he had a pretty good second game too. But this was really, in terms of how the games progressed in real time throughout the day, this was the first real scare of the tournament because this was the second game that tipped off. And there for a while, Colgate really stayed in it.
Yeah, I think when you told me the score, I remember now why I don't remember much, because when Arkansas starts to pull ahead, I'm like, okay, I got to go somewhere else to find like a closer game. That's usually what happens.
He's just zipping around.
Yep, pretty much.
And now we get to the game that was the first game of the tournament. And what a first game of the tournament it was. Incredible game. We're talking number 7, Florida, number 10, Virginia Tech. Crazy game. Went to overtime. Gators by 5. We had almost everything you could ask for in a March Madness game here. Denver, take it away while I pull up the highlights.
All right, so key things. Florida wins. Two players that I highlighted for this one was Castleton. He had 19 points, but 14 rebounds. That's
big.
A big game right there.
Big.
Another player that I really found interesting. I talked about bench play, and I don't see a lot of it, but Lewis came off the bench and had 15 points. Double-digit score off the bench. That's a huge bonus. Florida overall shot 57%, rounded and up. They were plus 13 on rebounds. Plus 13, that's a lot.
That'll do it.
I know why I was so close now. Because they had 15 turnovers.
Yeah, that's a couple.
Again, when you start adding these turnovers up, it could play a huge factor. Florida, I think, deserved to win this game long term. Even though I think I picked Virginia Tech. Just watching the game, they played so much better. They really played a much better, much clean game. And I'll get to that here because Virginia Tech had 24 team fouls.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Virginia
fouls,
Tech, if I recall, Virginia Tech led the vast majority of this game, except as you pointed out, I felt as though, it was very close, obviously, but Virginia Tech, it felt like they were getting outplayed and they were still ahead most of the game. I believe they held the lead until almost, it was like 5 minutes remaining when Florida really took the lead, and it looked like they were going to hold on to it. And then this happened. We're going to play this highlight before we continue talking. This was, again, great way to start the tournament. You want your games to end like this.
See when they give it. 5 seconds. They're not giving it. For the tie! Yes! Incredible! With 1.4 seconds.
We had a buzzer beater to send the game to OT in the first game of the tournament. Wow.
I recall watching that and going, "Oh my fucking Christ." That's exactly what I said. I was on the floor. Brittany's little sister thinks I'm like trying to play. But like I dead ass was shocked. I couldn't believe what I just saw.
And then overtime, still suspenseful. Very good ball game throughout. Florida kind of takes control in overtime and just kind of doesn't relinquish it. A couple of great highlights from overtime I'll let play real quick.
Too much to challenge.
From right away.
Lewis, bounce pass.
The monster jam.
Louisiana's.
And then I do believe the shot that clinches it from Trey Mann. He is the man.
Set the screen. Man with 7. Step back. Jumper. Yes, from 3. Big time.
And that is the call that from the game, or from the shot rather, that put Florida up 74-70 on their way to winning 75-70. Great game. And we were little did we know, but much did we hope that we were in for a lot more games like this. Because our next game...
I'm excited to talk about the next game.
The next game
Oral
is
Roberts.
almost just... It's just so remarkable. Really, at this point, if you followed any of the tournament, you know this is the Cinderella story so far. It's the 15th seeded Oral Roberts Golden Eagles, a team that I've got to see play many a time in the last several years as an alum of one of the schools in the Summit League with this team. They upset Ohio State, the second seeded Buckeyes, in the first round. Max Asmus and Kevin O'Banner went crazy. I believe O'Banner had 30 points, 11 rebounds, and Asmus had 29 points. It was just absolutely insane. I think Ohio State even shot like way better than Oral Roberts in this game too. Out rebounded them by a ton, if I recall. But
Plus 14 on rebound.
yeah, but Oral Roberts, I believe, only committed 6 turnovers. But Ohio State
Correct.
had a ton.
Right? That's first note.
I think it was like
turnovers for Ohio State.
6 to 16. And that'll get you. If a team is really good about not turning the ball over, that 15 turnover range is where if the other team's taking care of the ball and you're approaching 15 or you go past 15, you're in a lot of trouble no matter if that team is way better or way worse than you or not. And that's where Ohio State found themselves in trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
Oral Roberts was ahead most of the second
and-
half. It probably shouldn't even gone to overtime if we haven't said it already. Oral Roberts wins 75-72 in overtime. Spoiler alert. But honestly, it probably shouldn't even got that far.
Well, here's what's interesting to me. Is Ohio State, Liddell, had 23 points, 14 boards. Washington had 18 points, 10 rebounds, right? But here are two stats about shooting that always get to me. They shot 5 for 23 from the three-point line, which is only 21%. And they shot 9 for 18 on free throws.
Oh, that's tough. Free throw line will get you.
That is...
Free throw line will get you.
How? Like, okay, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. but how are you playing D1 basketball and you're shooting 50% from the line? Like, come on. Are you in... when we shot 50% from the line, we're probably in middle school, okay?
And we were running a lot because of it.
We practice free throws. Exactly. Like, do they just not care about free throws anymore? If they would have made literally 4 more free throws, they would have won. They would have won.
It's very likely if they could have been a little more efficient from the line. Yeah, they probably would have won.
For the goal.
Let me just preface this. I'm pretty sure in our bracket pick'em show, I told you this kid's a bucket.
Yeah, you did.
I'm pretty sure I told you this kid's an absolute walking bucket. And he showed out as well as Kevin O'Banner. We got Max Asmus, leading scorer in the country. Let's watch it.
Eagles against the taller, stronger Ohio State club. And I told you this guy
he's just wet. Just absolutely soaking wet. Oh. And then in overtime, not only is he wet, he's clutch and he's wet.
7 on the timer. Makes his move. Step back, Jay. Bullseye.
The net barely moved. It barely moved.
See, I have him Asmus in both games. He balled out, and so did O'Banner.
O'Banner.
Is that how you pronounce? Yeah, he balled out too. Yo, Oral Roberts, they're gonna go. They're going deep. Final Four.
They can score with anybody. I mean, if you got 2 guys putting up 30 a night, you can score with anybody. I think we already said it.
Stupid.
59 points between the 2 of them in this game, and then looking ahead, we'll talk about it then as well. But they had 53 in the second game against Florida. I mean, these dudes are just sitting. They're walking around in their Crocs. They're so wet, dude. Like, God damn. But yeah, I think the biggest thing, right, is OSU got absolutely smoked in the overtime. Like, they had a chance. They did well enough to bring it back. They took the lead late in regulation, let Oral Roberts tie it. Couldn't get the game winner in regulation. But, you really expect the more veteran team, which, I guess both of these teams are relatively young. So it's probably neutral there. But for sure, the higher major team, just based on talent, I guess, air quotes, should win in overtime, right? But I believe I have one more highlight. Yeah, it's this ending sequence from Ohio State. We have an off-balance 3 from, I can't remember number 10's name. I apologize. Arms. Tipped back out. He gets it to Dwayne Washington here. I mean, you're not going to get a much better look than that to win a ball game very often. And unfortunately, that was the story of overtime for Ohio State. Could not make a shot to save their lives.
Nope. It was unfortunate. I liked the upset though. Once it started going, man, I was cheering for Oral Roberts so hard. I was like, let's go, let's go, let's go. I was freaking out. It was a great game.
It was a great game. Congratulations to Oral Roberts. If we haven't said it formally already, like, we've been hyping him up here for the last several minutes. It's really cool to see a 15 seed go to the Sweet 16. It's even better when that Sweet 16 team, it has 2 dudes on it who just, I mean, once they're in the gym, you gotta make sure you're marking them, because otherwise they're gonna torch you. And with that, we move on to the second round of games within this region, starting at the top. We have Baylor taking on Wisconsin. And despite it was I guess the score wasn't a blowout, but Baylor was in control for the vast majority of this game, keeping that score, around a 10-point deficit for Wisconsin. And I mean, the biggest takeaway for me was the shots that the Badgers were hitting against Carolina, they weren't hitting against Baylor And that was the biggest difference in the game. Baylor kind of just controlled it in the second half.
Baylor's my pick to win, so as long as they're winning, I'm okay.
He's happy, folks. I mean, like he's all in on the Baylor hype train. Let me see.
Nah, I'm really all in Oral Roberts. I hope they win it all.
Well, that would be just nutty, right? But we'll see how that goes. You know, if you hear me paging through my
Roberts,
notebook,
Gonzaga,
that'd be something. Denver and I are both very proud. We both took I'm not gonna say extensive notes, but we both filled several pages in a notebook with notes. Like, we wanted to talk and cover these games as best as possible, even though obviously we're not the first to put out a podcast, and we're certainly not the experts, but we just loved watching these games, and we wanted to share the best we could. The other thing I wanted to highlight from that Baylor game, Baylor forced 14 turnovers and only had 4 themselves. So yet again, we see a team, and that's a Wisconsin team that I think, if I recall, Wisconsin turns the ball over less than any other team on average in the country.
Oh, that's impressive then.
And so, you know, if you're winning the turnover battle by 10 against that Wisconsin team, you have a pretty good chance to win the game. Moving on, we had the not so upset-minded Villanova Wildcats against that North Texas team that took care of Purdue in round 1. And unfortunately, this game did not quite live up to either of these two teams' first game kind of hype. Nova just looked better. It was quite simple. They won by 23. Again, Javion Hamlet went absolutely off. I believe he had another 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. So, I mean, that dude, much respect to that kid. He played hard. He had 25 of North Texas's 61 points. But it was just very, very balanced from Nova. They had 4 or 5 starters in double figures. And imagine this, the dude with the name, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, 18 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Another dude who, we talked about it a little bit in their game against Winthrop, seems like he's at least a minor threat to put up a triple-double every time he's walking out there right now, playing with a lot of confidence, and Nova advanced really, really easily. I don't know that we have to dive too deep into that one. But the next game was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And we kind of knew this looking at the bracket, definitely a possibility. Texas Tech, Arkansas. We have Chris Beard against the Muss Bus. And wow, this game definitely lived up to it. We have more highlights for this one a little bit here, so we'll throw those up for the video audience. Great little pass here. I loved this pass.
Oh, great find! What a pass! Threads it through right here. Well, it's Williams.
That's Justin Smith with the cut. We already talked about him, the former Hoosier. He had another big game in this one. I believe he had 20 to lead the Hogs in this one.
Did?
Yeah.
Wait, who did you say?
Justin Smith.
Yep, 20 and 6.
Yeah, and pretty decent, right? And the biggest thing to me was the last couple of minutes, very tense, very close game down the stretch. The only points in the last 2 minutes of this game was one Arkansas free throw.
Wow.
But Texas Tech had 2 very decent looks close to the rim late in the game. I will say, overall, I thought the officiating was pretty good all weekend. I'm not going to complain much, if at all. I do think, oh God, I don't remember if it was Kyler Edwards or Terrence Shannon. One of the 2 of them was the one that took the ball to the hole for Texas Tech with about 35 to 40 seconds left. I thought he got fouled, and they didn't call it, and he missed the layup. But I'll show this last little sequence here. I do not believe, or no, sorry, this is not the last sequence. This is funny.
Long shot, it's off the glass. He's only 28%. 100% and puts one in from distance. It's a 1 point of Edwards there. It's a 3. Bullseye! Another one off the glass.
We had a 28% three-point shooter banking a 3 at one end, and you come right down to the other end, and I believe, was it Moses Moody? I'm not 100% on that. I want to say it was Moses Moody. For Arkansas, puts in a freaking a back-to-back bank threes. It was awesome. And now we're getting here to the call on that last sequence I was talking about, where I don't believe this one was a foul. This was just unfortunate that Texas Tech couldn't find this bucket at the rim to send it to OT. We'll let it play out here.
6. He's dancing. Smith is there. Accelerates. No! Rebound, Note. That's it. Arkansas is going to the Sweet 16.
If I was seeing that right, guess who was playing defense on the play? Your boy Justin Smith. That kid's showing out. He wanted it. And as such, Arkansas, Sweet 16, I believe first time since the mid-90s. They're going to the Sweet 16. Right there. Does it? Oh, yeah. Should probably read the tweet. Unfortunate.
See, here's a couple things that I found interesting about this game. Was Arkansas had 4 starters in double figures.
Yep.
That's a big thing. One thing I found out though, just watching that, is they only made 4 3-pointers. They were 4 for 17, and one of them happened to be that wild bank shot. Overall, though, Texas Tech should have won. They shot 50% from the 3-point line, 10 for 20, but what kills them is they only shot 36% from the field.
Yeah, that's not going to win you many games. Even if you are as good a defensive team as Texas Tech, I think it's probably a credit to them that they kept it as close against a good team as Arkansas while only shooting 36% from the field. That's a good bit right there. That's why we got Denver on the podcast. He catches little things that I miss. There we go. The great duo right here, ladies and gentlemen. Denver, do you know who plays the next game we're talking about? I think you do.
I hope it's the Oral Roberts versus Florida.
We circle back very quickly here on the podcast. We have Oral Roberts, baby. And
their money.
If anyone thought that their win against Ohio State, a very good Ohio State team, in the first round was a fluke, they played another quality team here in Florida in the second round, and spoiler alert, they won again. And so they're the second ever 15 seed to make the Sweet 16. I knew that going in. That was the stakes for the game, even without the constant plug from the announcers, because I know the only other 15 seed. It was one of the first tournaments that I got really, really into. 2013 Florida Gulf Coast, Dunk City, baby. Loved that team. It's cool that Oral Roberts here can kind of follow in those footsteps. I liked that a lot. Again, Kevin O'Banner, another 28 points, another 11 rebounds. Max Asmus, 26 points, 7 assists. They did it again. They did it again. Well,
somehow they won, and they were negative 14 on the boards.
Oh, they got absolutely pounded in stats again in this game, I believe. Yeah.
But you know what? How they won?
20 turnovers from Florida.
Yep.
20 turnovers.
Plus 8 on turnovers. That's mind-blowing. But I love this stat because I think it's Oral Roberts who's like the best free throw shooting team in the nation.
Yeah, it's them in Colorado.
They shot 19 for 23 from the free throw line, which is about 83%, which is awesome.
It's really good. That's right on their season average.
Yeah.
Very good team.
Those are key stats that help you win. I still can't believe they won how are you getting dominated on the boards like that and you still pull up upsets? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
It's because of what we're about to watch here. So just
Interestingly,
stay
right
tuned.
now, you see the Gators with a little 1-2-2 pressure, but that really gets you out of whack and gives up a lot of threes. So they got to make sure they can stop the three and also the drive by Kevin O'Banner.
To the corner. Speaking of logo, A-Smiths. Nothing but net. Appleby for the last 13 minutes. Some of the other players had to play added minutes because of that.
I'm going to pause real quick because hearing the call makes me remember something. I believe the lady we're hearing on the call here is Lisa Byington. And I think I saw earlier in the week that she's the first ever female to call the play-by-play in an NCAA tournament game. That's another thing I thought was awesome all weekend. I heard a lot of great calls, especially, I mean, she did great. I really thought. She did several games. Obviously, I said I watched at least part of all of them. The ones I remember, this one sticks out. And, oh, God. I can't really think of it at the moment. I think I have a highlight of it later on. Maybe it'll refresh my memory. But either way, shout out to Lisa. She did a great job. Shout out to everybody. Loved everything. They were in prime form even though they didn't have it last year. That's what we love to see.
Finger roll finish there for A-Smiths.
So what we're just watching is Oral Roberts, 2-star player, just dominating and scoring.
Yes. Sorry, I did not preface this. It's just a compilation of Max A-Smith and Kevin O'Banner just getting absolute buckets against the Gators right here.
Gotta get your hand up.
He's got the mismatch, blows right by him. Oh boy, A-Smith is such a tough cover. He's got that elite motor and athleticism. Kind of
From the logo again. He's wet.
This shooter, though. A-Smith is just
Like water.
He only had 5 turnovers. That was too much. He also emphasized defense will be key in the
If this
second
was a
half.
Chris Smooth video, he'd have that green light everywhere.
He'd have that green release.
Yeah, that's what it was.
O'Banner's got the green release too.
0 for 2 from 3. And 0 for 3 everybody else. And taking the contact, a tough 2 for O'Banner.
Beautiful move.
Just stupid.
A-Smith.
That shot, stupid.
19 for man.
For those who aren't able to join us to watch, you'll notice the score right here. Florida's up 11 with 10 minutes to go. And Oral Roberts claws their way back in this one and finds a way to win it late. I know we're not there on the scoreboard yet, but I want to shout out, for as much hype as we've given A-Smith and O'Banner, the biggest shot of this game came from Deshang Weaver. He put one in from the corner to give Oral Roberts the lead late at 80-78, I think, and that proved to be the difference. Just watching this makes me not sick in a good way. Just
Their Sweet 16 ticket against Florida.
You gotta get up in him.
That's the way.
Both of them. You can't just let them do this to you. Both Ohio State and Florida let this happen.
Big yikes.
And because of it, Oral Roberts, Sweet 16, here we go.
Here we go.
And that does it for the recap of the South region. Right? South? Yes.
Yep.
And now we rewind because we're going to the Midwest. We apologize that a little bit of an apology for that first region taking so long. That was a wild region. And honestly, this next this next one's kind of wild too. The left half of the bracket is significantly less wild, but that doesn't mean less quality. So that just means we're going to be able to breeze through the left side a little bit quicker. That's why we're at this mark in the podcast, and we're only through, 12 games?
Yeah, and I should preference this heading into this Midwest part of the bracket. I'm going to have Dierksy carry me here. I didn't finish my notes. I feel like I'm in trouble. Like I got in trouble in school for not finishing my work, but it's okay. I got at least the main games we're talking about for the round of 64 at least. So
For sure. Starting off, top seed Illinois really took care of Drexel, balanced scoring for the Fighting Illini, 4 or 5 starters in double figures. We had my boy Ayo Dosunmu with 17 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals, filling the stat sheet per his usual. And again, Illinois taking care of Drexel. Second game, good one. We expected to be good going in. Both of these teams, I feel like you could definitely say, didn't get the proper love from the tournament selection committee in terms of seeding. Number 8, Loyola Chicago. Number 9, Georgia Tech. We had Loyola Chicago come out ahead in this one, 71-60. Obviously, Georgia Tech without Moses Wright, the ACC Player of the Year. What was a cool little note that didn't really impact the game per se, Jose Alvarado, the point guard for Georgia Tech, wore Moses Wright's jersey during this game. I thought that was just a cool little note. A nice little salute to his teammate that couldn't be there for him. Georgia Tech, against a very good Loyola defense, shoots 57+% from the field. To Loyola's only 47%. But Loyola makes 11 threes and is pretty efficient with that. And that is really the difference in the ball game, in my opinion. But this was a very fun game to watch just because both of these teams, they really want to get out and defend you. And that's why we knew this was going to be a fun one coming in.
The stat, there's 2 stats for me that always get to me, is the rebounding and the fouls. Loyola Chicago was plus 13 in rebounding in this game, which huge difference. But Georgia Tech committed 19 team fouls, and when you're committing that many fouls, and with the way college basketball's foul system is, you start shooting free throws really quick. And so, 19 fouls, you're going to be sending people to the line so fast.
Quick little highlight from this game. Just very emblematic of the way Loyola Chicago does things. Great ball movement here.
Getting a tie-up. Oh, and a slippery floor it is.
Nice little backdoor cut.
They feed it to Kennedy.
And I know it's maybe not the flashiest highlight you're ever going to see. But, I mean, you think about it, Loyola Chicago is really not the flashiest team you're ever going to see. But they do what they do. I mean, maybe they execute to a level that not a whole lot of teams can keep up with. And that's a little foreshadowing for what we have coming later, I do believe. But we will keep it moving here. Next game we have to talk about in this region, number 5, Tennessee, number 12, Oregon State. Neither of these teams playing like the seed that they, are listed at. Tennessee definitely down late in the season. They also lost John Fulkerson to a facial injury in the SEC tournament. They couldn't get Fulked up. And Oregon State, they went on that run to win the Pac-12 tournament. They're on a run here. They never trailed. They held Tennessee to 33% shooting, 19% from behind the three-point line. And this was just never close. This was as comfortable as a 12-5 upset as you're ever going to see. He just nods because he just has nothing better to add. He covered it.
You covered all the bases. Sometimes less is more, and when you just cover all the bases, and I can't argue with it.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Because
I did my job well,
this.
Right?
Yeah, I can't tell you were wrong. Clearly Oregon State won. I picked them to win. But I can't dispute it. It's pure fact. In this game, Oregon State was the better team. It showed. They won. They moved on. Bye-bye Tennessee.
Bye-bye Tennessee indeed, which takes us into the next game in this region. Number 4, Oklahoma State and Cade Cunningham. Denver loves him because he's going to get to see him play in the NBA for a long, long time after this. Against number 13, Liberty. Another team that, I mean, for being a lower seeded team, they can play with just about anybody. They proved it here. This was a fairly nondescript game, it felt like. I watched a lot of it, but nothing really stood out to me in terms of one team, really making a run at the other. It was a nice little cushion for Oklahoma State, a good portion of the second half at the minimum. I'm struggling to remember exactly at the moment. They had Avery Anderson, the Cowboys did, step up. He had 21.7 rebounds and 4 steals. And that led them to the 69-60 victory over Liberty. Anything to add there, brother?
No.
All right.
One of those games.
It was just one of those games, I agree. But this one, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about. Number 6, San Diego State. Number 11, Syracuse. I have to admit, I need to put more respect on Syracuse's name. Anyone who knows me knows that they were my first real love in college basketball. It was their game against UConn in the 2008, I believe. I just saw this tweet the other day, and it made me feel really old. Big East tournament. It went to 6 overtimes.
Yep.
It was a great game. It was a young Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker was not the leader on that team, but I see young Kemba in that game. Just gives me great memories. That's really where I fell in love with college basketball. And so Syracuse has kind of been that team that I just pull for in my heart ever since then. And they do stuff like this all the time, where they just barely make it into the tournament, and now they're making a run. I said that this was probably going to be the ugliest game that we watched in the first round, and it was not. It was quite beautiful on one end, actually. Syracuse simply dominated, really. San Diego State had an 18-14 lead at the 9:41 mark of the first half. But Syracuse had the lead at halftime, 32-18. They went on an 18-0 run and didn't let the Aztecs score a point for almost the last 10 minutes of the half. And that was really the start of the end for San Diego State.
Yeah, as you can see, Buddy, my favorite name in this whole tournament, actually.
Buddy Boeheim!
Buddy had 30 points, 7 for 10 from the three-point line. He's also assisted by Gerard.
Yep, Joe Girard.
Right. He had 12.6 rebounds and 7 assists. A key stat, 7 for 10 from the three-point, led the team to be 15 for 27, which is 55%. And we talk about turnovers, and here's one interesting stat, because we talked about turnovers. Syracuse had 12 to San Diego State's 4. So San Diego State wasn't turning the ball over, but
they just couldn't buy a shot.
No, they were 11 for 40 on the three-point line. 27.5%.
Yeah, and you hear 11 threes, and 11 threes in the college game is like a lot of threes. But again, took 40 attempts to get there, and if you look at it, I'm going to guess that at least a third of those were in like the last 6 minutes of the game, when the game was like well and truly over. San Diego State really didn't, I don't think they broke the 40-point mark until there was like 6 or 7 minutes left in the game. We'll probably see it in this highlight. Before we get into it, Denver touched on it. We have to say, if we're going to put as much respect on Max Asmus and Kevin O'Banner's name for being buckets as we are, Buddy Boeheim, the absolute human flamethrower.
Yeah,
this dude is out here hitting everything. He's been Syracuse's best scorer all season, but this last 3 weeks or whatever, he's been on an absolute heater. As Denver said, 7 of 10 from 3. He was 11 of 15 from the field. It's just, we got to watch this.
You wait all day. That's true. You watch all these other games.
He's a bucket.
The anxiety builds. You haven't settled in.
Now you talking about us or these teams?
Yeah, I'm talking about us. Because Boeheim showing no jitters right there.
And you mentioned the experience as a senior, undeterred by not knocking any out early. Quick release.
Oh, yes. Woo! Chance for the 4-point play.
Wow.
Griffin.
He can elevate. He's gonna back him down now, I think, and just elevate.
2 more. He's got 16 of the Syracuse 19 total.
You see this. There's only 6.5 minutes to go in the game at this point in the highlight. It's 59-35. San Diego State's, I mean, they're done. And they're going to make a lot of threes to boost their numbers to, I think you might have said it, and I think I had it written down. They shot only 36% for the game and 28 from behind the three-point line. And those numbers were boosted by the end of the game by a considerable amount. This was a bad shooting performance from the Aztecs. Again, the Aztecs are just out of it right now. And then this was just emblematic of Buddy Boeheim in general lately. This is a nutty shot.
2, 1, it's his night. No, of course it's going in. No.
The turnaround from the logo.
Boeheim with a little bit of everything.
Boy, goodness, not much room.
Hey,
at
Lakers,
all.
can you draft
Give him an
Buddy
inch.
just so I can see
He takes
shots
it
like
all.
this on the nightly?
And he knows. Why not? That's almost Michael Jordan-like, right?
This man just compared Buddy Boeheim to Michael Jordan.
He was, that's out of context. It was the shrug that he was comparing.
Okay. I was like, bruh.
No. It was the shrug. I do believe that's the yeah. Okay, that's the last highlight we have from this region. We do have one more game in the first round. Two more games, right? 3. I'm dumb. 3. Oh my
Dude, there's
God.
3 more games. Oh my God.
But these are real quick. We have West Virginia, Morehead State. This was a pretty solid win for West Virginia. They had Miles, a.k.a. Deuce McBride. He had 30 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. Really took care of Morehead State. Number 7, Clemson. Number 10, Rutgers. This was a very close game, very entertaining game down the stretch. It was tied at 55 with 4 minutes and some change to go. Rutgers closes the game out on a 5-1 run and wins it there. As I correctly predicted, and if I do recall, Denver, you had Clemson in the Sweet 16, so that was kind of a whiff. Little bit of a whiff.
Yeah.
And then we have, to close out the region, number 2 Houston, number 15 Cleveland State. I could have told you how this one was going to go from the rip, not just because of the seeding. Houston has made an absolute living this season on beating the ever-living crap out of teams that are a lot worse than them. And no disrespect to Cleveland State, but obviously this is a 2 versus 15 seed matchup for a reason. Houston led like wire to wire. It was relatively close at halftime. I think I've written down here 8 points at half. But then, I mean, it was like a 30-something point game by the end. It was pretty convincing there for the Cougars. The big note, though, the Cougars' star player, Dejan Giroux, went down less than a minute into the game with a hip injury, and he did not return. But we will have more on that situation here very shortly when we get back to their second round matchup. For now, we move forward into the round of 32 in this region.
Yep. And even though I didn't do the notes, I have the games pulled up now to add some input here.
This first game we're going to talk about is maybe a game I could talk about for a very long time. This game, in terms of how things went down, just kind of escapes me. I'm not going to lie to you. It was number 1 Illinois, number 8 Loyola Chicago. And if you've paid attention, you know how this ends. Loyola Chicago, the 8 seed, pulls off what we'll call an upset. Obviously, by seed, it's a pretty big upset. But we'll talk in a little bit here as to why I don't think this should have been a huge shock to anybody. Loyola, like I said, they dominated, never trailed in the game. They forced 17 turnovers from Illinois. Cameron Krutwig, we got to shout out the big man, the old man game big man from Loyola Chicago. 19 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. This man's doing everything. I think Bill Raftery was on the color commentary for this game with, I think it was it Nance? I think it was with Nance. And He said it best. You look at Krutwig and you just know he's going to be balling at the Y until he's 50 years old. This man.
It's like he should have been in like a 1980s cop. Just like the stereotypical, I'm going to eat a donut and sit in my car fucking looking man. Dude, I love that guy. I love looking at him. Just a quick note when we talk about Loyola Chicago. Bench player Kennedy scored 14 points. That's big. That's a big one to come off the bench. Like you said, 17 turnovers. We talk about turnovers. If you hit that 15 turnover mark, it usually doesn't spell good for you.
True. We will share these couple of highlights real quick, and then we'll get into some of the background on this game. Again, it's our boy. It's Cameron Krutwig. He's an absolute magician, as the tweet reads.
Doesn't turn it over either. Look at this.
They lob it to
Just a
me.
little tap off the glass. You love it.
That play has really
Nothing flashy,
destructive
really.
from the get-go.
Just very,
Mustache nose, the paw, everything.
very
Mustache
sound.
nose.
Another
You know
one.
what?
And this is really the thing that I think closed the door. Not to cut you off, we'll get to you in just a quick second, my friend. What really closed the door on the whole thing? Another play by the big man, and this on Ayo Dosunmu, a man that I'm all in for winning Player of the Year. He did not have his best game today. I think he'd tell you that. Just a tough one, and right here.
For a long time. Illinois trying to trim it.
Well, look at this play.
You have a center with the quick hands, knocking the ball away from a potential Player of the Year, getting hyped afterwards. Loyola Chicago wants to get after you, and they got after Illinois on Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon.
So one serious note, I think Loyola Chicago plays with great intensity. And I love watching them play. I watched their first round game. Didn't get to watch the second round game. I didn't think they were going to actually beat Illinois. I was kind of shocked. But the second thing, not so serious. I can tell you when Krutwig gets back to Loyola Chicago, that man is going to have all the poon in the world from that university.
All right. We can.
Dude, that man is a god. I aspire to be him when I grow up.
All right. So as I was saying a little earlier, and I alluded to, this is an upset, definitely by seed, but Loyola Chicago got disrespected in my estimation and my opinion, by the committee. I have a tweet pulled up for those that are joining in the video format, and I will read through this thread that I typed up in the aftermath of the game. I want you to know, I love this tournament. I really don't care who wins. Obviously, I had picked Illinois, so if you think some of my bias comes from me picking Illinois, go ahead. I promise you, I was as big a Loyola Chicago fan as anybody back in 2018 when they made their Final Four run. I have a Loyola Chicago shirt in the dresser behind me. I'm all on the bandwagon. I love Porter Moser. I love that program that he runs. Denver said it. They're very easy to watch. They just play with such great intensity. You can tell they really love the game of basketball. But here we go. On Selection Sunday, when they were seeded 8th, they were 24-4, ranked number 17 in the AP poll, and they'd been in the AP poll for 6 consecutive weeks. They were, I messed up the tweet a little bit. I'll correct it here in real time. Missouri Valley regular season and conference tourney champions. And according to Ken Pom and other reputable kind of analytics sites, they were a top 10 team. So I do not quite understand how they got seeded 8th. Obviously, I think if you play this game again tomorrow, or rather this weekend, and it was a Sweet 16 game, I think Loyola probably still wins. That's not the point here. My point is, I think Illinois and Loyola Chicago both got jobbed. It all obviously only looks like one of them got jobbed here because obviously one team wins the game, right? One team is going to be happy. The fact of the matter is, in my estimation, this should not have been a matchup in the second round. It should have come much later, if anything. I'll keep reading. In much nicer terms, I've been saying since the bracket revealed that Illinois got effed by Loyola's seeding. Gave me 2013 Gonzaga Wichita State vibes. For those who don't know, Wichita State was underseeded as a 9 seed that year, upseeded the first seed Gonzaga in the second round, on their way to the Final Four. Maybe a bit of foreshadowing, we'll have to see. Make no mistake about it, Loyola outplayed Illinois and absolutely deserved the win, but the fact it was even possible for these teams to meet this early is whack to me. This easily could have been an Elite 8 game if Loyola was a 6 seed and on the bottom side of Illinois' bracket. I don't know if you want to weigh in on this at all. Again, it's just something that, I mean, when teams are underseeded, it screws up. It can screw up a whole bracket. Obviously, you like to think that no matter what, the best team is going to make it out, and I think that's true most of the time. Obviously, there's some cases that are weird, but now Illinois has to be like, our season ended in the round of 32 when we're probably still one of the 10 best teams in the country. We probably should have made the Elite 8, you know? It was just a bad draw for Illinois. I don't know if you want to weigh in on that, Denver.
The only thing I have to say is, one, I can't argue. You pulled up a lot of stats, a lot of metrics, a lot of things. I like stats.
He does.
For one. But two, I agree with you. I think Loyola Chicago, from what I've seen from them, and that's not very much, but I think they should have been ranked higher than an 8th seed. I do think they were lowballed there. I could even say they look like a 5th seed team to me. Like, they look phenomenal. They play very well. And for them to be the 8th seed, they literally said, I'm going to smack you in the face. I'm going to go out there with the confidence. They're playing with confidence. They go out there and they play with confidence against one of the best teams in the nation with DeSumo and Coburn. So I agree. I think the NCAA messed up on their bracketing this year.
Perhaps just a little. I thought I had another tweet to share. Apparently I don't. But it's something like, after the Illinois upset, Vegas now has Loyola as the 3rd best odds to win the whole thing. And I think that really speaks to me, because as someone who, maybe I'm not the best sports bettor, but I stay plugged into that scene. Vegas doesn't overreact to things. Vegas is very calculated. They're in the business of making money. So they're not going to make an incredibly large line change like that, or rather odds change, unless they think it's warranted and that it's a good price for people that are going to place more bets on it, kind of thing. So Loyola Chicago is a very good team, according to Vegas, and that can't be ignored at this point. Now that we've rambled on about that game, I'm sure the people want us to move on, but I think we
back to him here in a second.
I think we bring up.
We're gonna. Oh, never mind.
I think we bring up a couple of good points in that. Actually, the last note I want to say is I saw an interview with Porter Moser, the coach of Loyola Chicago, on First Take, like a clip of it, and he talks about like how his team is perceived as better than the 2018 team that made the Final Four, and like why no matter what they're always going to view themselves as the underdog. And the phrase he kept using was, we're always chasing. And that's a great way to kind of really describe the way Loyola plays. They're going to play their game. They're going to make you play their game. And if you're not comfortable playing that way, they're probably going to beat you, because they're very sound at what they do. And they have that hunger to really show people what they're all about. And I really respect that. Absolutely respect that. And we will move on. The next game in this bracket, the Oklahoma State Cowboys and the Oregon State Beavers. OSU versus OSU, Orange versus Orange. Cade Cunningham against, I suppose it's Ethan Anderson and the upstart Beavs. I'll let you take lead on this one. since Cade's kind of your big boy.
So, Cade had 24 points, right? Good game for him. Good game on him. 4 points, 3 assists, 5 steals. That's some good ball. But they just didn't shoot well. 27% from the field, 8 for 29 from 3-pointers. They had a hell of a ton of free throws at 38, but they only shot 68%. We talk about two things I love is rebounding and turnovers. That's kind of my thing for this tournament. They get out-rebounded by 20. Oklahoma State gets out-rebounded by 20 rebounds. But they force Oregon State
20 turnovers
to commit 20 turnovers. So it's like a toss-up. It's like, so look, Cade's going to be the first overall pick. He clearly is a dominant player.
He looks the part, doesn't he?
He does. One thing I don't like about him, though.
I think I know what you're going to say. I have it right here.
Okay, let's see how accurate you are. He never starts off hot.
Yep.
I
wasn't going to phrase it quite like that, but we're in the same vein. He saves a lot for later in the game.
Yeah. Like he comes out and he chucks up a few shots and he starts 0 for 5. That was how he started the first game of the tournament. He was 0 for 5. But look, if he cleans up his shooting, he's gonna be dominant in the NBA. He shot 6 for 20.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to point out that maybe you glossed over a little. You said the team shot bad. Cade also was not immune to that. Yeah, he had the really great stat line, but he did only shoot 6 for 20. That's obviously not what you want. If you're only scoring 24 points on 20 field goal attempts, that's pretty bad in efficiency numbers. And obviously, Cade is a very, very good player. I'm not trying to disrespect the kid or anything. He could have played a better game. I think he'd tell you that. And Oregon State, they just keep this little run that they're on rolling. I mean,
yeah. Who would have predicted a Sweet 16 game, 8 versus 12?
That's a pretty interesting seed matchup. A couple notes that I wanted to say, right? Oregon State led the entire way from the 13:30 mark of the first half onward. And that includes 2 really big Oklahoma State surges. At the 11:20 mark of the second half, Oklahoma State had cut it down to 2 after they were down relatively big. And then this highlight that I have pulled up that I will then now throw on the screen is from just under 4 minutes to go. Oklahoma State made another surge after that 2-point surge had been stretched back out to 11. Oklahoma State surges back, gets it to within 3 with under 4 minutes to go, and they just can't close the deal. This is probably the best little stretch of the game for Oklahoma State. This is wildly entertaining. You thought when you seen this, they might have a chance.
Step back 3 right here. Boone!
Boy, that's the third 3 Boone has made today. They have been big shots.
Oh, they steal it with Cunningham. Anderson, Cunningham, 3. Wow!
Yeah, I mean, they just back-to-back threes off of a steal, score 6 points in about 8 seconds, and bring it to within 3. You think they're maybe making the push, and Oregon State answers again. They push it back out. They win 80-70. And again, now the Beavers, they're in the Sweet 16. They're a 12 seed. They were picked last in the Pac-12 at the beginning of the year. This team, they got hot at the right time. There's no other way to say it. They made me kind of eat my words that I said in the bracket pick show about not trusting a team that got hot in the latter half of their season if they were maybe average. Although I do think I was proven right on a more applicable case later on. We'll maybe touch on that. I have to give myself a little credit, right? Moving on, an old Big East rivalry in the bottom half of this bracket. West Virginia, number 3 against number 11 Syracuse. Syracuse started out hot, got a 14-point first half lead. West Virginia fought back most of the game, made it tight toward the end of the first half and into the second. At the end of the day, though, West Virginia only led this game for 53 seconds, and that came on a short stretch in the second half when I believe it was 53-52. Again, we said his name a lot in the first round. The human flamethrower, as we are going to affectionately refer to him as from here on out, Buddy Boeheim. Another 6 threes in this game. On a pretty efficient, only 13 attempts. That's a pretty solid percentage. 25 more points. Not to be outdone, we got to shout out Sean McNeil from West Virginia. He tried to match Boeheim. He had 23 points on 7 of 13 shooting from 3. It just quite wasn't enough. Wasn't quite enough. Got that mixed around a little bit. We have Syracuse almost choking it away down the stretch. West Virginia made some good plays, and then anything you would like to add, my friend?
Syracuse has 4 starters in double digits, including Buddy. Another key thing, it's weird because I see this number and I kind of get spazzed out, but again, you have a plus 12 rebounds for West Virginia. When you're dominating the glass, you should be winning. They even outperformed them 8-6 on steals. I mean, Syracuse had 6 blocks. The turnover ratio was actually 15-14, so you can't even say one team forced too many turnovers. Like you said, Syracuse is playing how Syracuse wants to play. Even though Buddy is here with his points, other people are scoring. And that's always key. If you can have your key player be hot and stay hot for the game, it brings the defense to him, which allows for, Dolezaj. I can't pronounce it.
Merrick Dolezaj.
Dolezaj, right. 4 for 6 from the field. Gerard, 4 for 8. Gear, I don't know how to say that either.
Guerrier.
Guerrier, 5 for 9. People are getting open and they're shooting. Mm-hmm. All of them above 50%.
Yeah, I think another thing, I don't know how we somehow skipped over it. I alluded to it in the first matchup Syracuse had against San Diego State. We haven't talked about it. The 2-3 zone. I don't know if you've really if you really heard much about this before. They've run it forever. Another reason that I kind of fell in love with them, they're just different. Syracuse's 2-3 zone is unlike any other 2-3 zone you're really ever going to see. They just really get after it, make teams uncomfortable. That kind of leads, the reason I thought about it was your rebounding comment. Out of the zone, it's very difficult to rebound, even if you're very good at it. So Syracuse loses the rebound battle a lot against other good teams. So you can't dig too far into that because you give up some offensive rebounds that you normally wouldn't playing zone because you just can't match up and box out quite as well. But that is by far made up for by the fact that they say it all the time, and you have to believe it because the evidence is in the games, right? If you're a team that doesn't play against a lot of zone in your conference, which not many teams play zone, right? And you don't play against teams that are this long and athletic as a team like Syracuse, those two things, the 2-3 zone and the length in that 2-3 zone, it's just an enigma. It gets teams basically every tournament, and Syracuse just keeps on moving.
True.
I will show this highlight. 5 of those 6 threes for Buddy, second half.
Knocked it down.
Human flamethrower.
Boeheim. There you go. First basket since 53 seconds into the game, Billy.
Hopefully Brown.
Got to kick it here. You got Boeheim wide open.
There he is for his second of the half. Yes.
He has such a beautiful shot.
That's the problem.
Has this changed? 2-point ball game.
I wonder if his dad is a ball coach.
Inside game right now.
Boeheim answers back with a 3. McNeil's made a couple of those from even beyond that.
Watch out.
Yeah, talking about way out there.
Logo.
Boeheim.
Wow, does that silence it a little bit? A contributor. A little nylon from deep.
Well, you don't
His shot
contest
reminds
that.
me a lot
He's
of
gonna
Clay
make you
Thompson.
pay, and why not?
Those 4 fouls.
He does have a little
major
Clay
issue.
in the form, doesn't he?
Like when you look at his
Once again,
like
the ability to
Yeah, his
elevate.
feet and the way like he goes straight up. Yeah, I like that a lot.
As
That's
you
a-
would say, is serious.
Buddy Boeheim, you love to see
Lakers,
it.
please draft him. We need 3-point shooting. Please draft him. Buddy, come to the NBA.
I apologize if that joke about I wonder if he has a dad as a coach. That was a pretty terrible joke. Obviously,
I
if you
didn't
don't-
acknowledge it because
yeah. If somehow you're listening to this podcast, you've made it this far, and you don't know that Buddy Boeheim is the son of the coach, the legendary Jim Boeheim of Syracuse, please get help. I love you.
Jesus Christ.
I said I love you at the end. It makes up for it, right? Last game of this region, and then we're going to start speeding through the other side. We have Houston and Rutgers. We talked about it a little bit at the last time we talked about Houston. Dejan Giroux gets hurt in the first game. He tries to gut it out to the best of his ability in this game. He plays, I think, 32 minutes on a pretty significant, it looks like, hip pointer injury. Dude, that was just an absolutely gutty performance out of that kid. He scored 17 points all while doing it. That was all heart. You can't convince me otherwise. And he's really, I feel like that heart really helped his team get back in it late. Houston had a 10-point lead with 10 minutes to go, and Houston took the lead. They're very late, less than half a minute to go. They go up and they win 63-60. It was a very good game, and Quentin Grimes, the Kansas transfer, led them with 22 points and 9 rebounds. I don't know if you caught that game.
No,
was that one of the games
no.
you didn't? Okay. Alrighty, that's gonna do it for Midwest. I think that was Midwest. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Midwest and South. Yep, we did the right side
Cool.
of the bracket.
Right side of the bracket done. That was the very crazy, chaotic side of the bracket. There's definitely some chaos on the other side, but we'll be able to speed through this other side
Not
a little
as
more.
much chaos.
Not quite as much.
No number one seeds go down on the left
This
side.
is true. Alrighty, we have it. The West, I think, region. I don't have the regions in front of me, but I'm assuming Gonzaga's West. This is obviously the number 1 overall seed, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, taking on the Norfolk State Spartans that played their way in. I'll give them credit. Norfolk State hung with them there for about 8 minutes, and then you really saw that gear, although that gear was a little lower than they have to get to against some of the better teams. When Gonzaga decides that they're going to play at 1 gear above where you want to play, they run you out of the gym. This game was pretty straightforward. Gonzaga by quite a few, 98-55.
I wanted them to break. It just hit 100 so bad.
I wanted several teams to hit 100, but we didn't quite get it in this. It was quite sad. Second matchup, good one. Oklahoma, Missouri. That was the 8 versus 9 matchup. Kind of they get back and forth throughout. Teams played with each other. Oklahoma took control in the last 5 minutes, though. Really closed it out. It was a close game, but I didn't really have anything too deep on that one. Did you?
Nothing notable. Just Missouri shot poor. I mean, Oklahoma didn't shoot much better, but I mean, they took 27 threes and only made 11.
Gotcha.
40%.
Yes, Oklahoma takes that one 72-68. And now the 2 games we're going to talk about next were the 2 games I was looking at. I do believe I picked both of these games as an upset. The first being the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos over the Creighton Blue Jays. I should have known as soon as Denver said Creighton has not made a Sweet 16 in like the modern era of the tournament that they were definitely going to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. Right.
I should have known. I did not, and Santa Barbara fought really hard. They were down 10 with under 14 minutes to go in the game, and they actually took the lead with under a minute to go. Creighton clutches it out. Santa Barbara gets a poor, in my opinion, a poor shot on the last possession. I do believe we'll get to that highlight. I want to give the dudes a lot of credit because obviously they're very good at what they do. It felt like to me as a spectator, and the announcer said this too after the fact, so I don't feel quite as bad about it. Again, I'm not trying to call anybody out. I'm just saying what I see. It felt like on that last layup attempt that could have given Santa Barbara the win, the guy could have gone up a little little It felt like he took too much of that contact, and it really knocked him off of his game. We have a couple highlights in this game, though. This was a little bit of a dunkers exhibition there for a little while. It was kind of fun. We got Miles Norris from UCSB. I believe he transferred from Oregon, I want to say. He had a nice little dunk in this one.
Coming on that penetration move. Strong take.
The and one.
My goodness. Norris with authority.
Watch the ground he covers, Lisa, on this play. One dribble, two dribbles from outside the three-point line. Absorb the contact.
We like that. That's a good dunk. And we also have Christian Bishop.
Second half. Getting punched. He
gets spicy with it.
Reverse and the lead.
He could have just gone straight up. He chooses to do the 180 reverse.
Couple of buckets here for Creighton to build on this three-point advantage. This was spectacular.
It was, Lisa. Look at
You know,
Marcus
you
being able to
mentioned it
absorb
earlier,
that contact.
with the female commentator. She is very. I really.
This
do
is the
enjoy these
game.
female-
Thank you for pointing it out. It was this game, Lisa. We love you,
Yeah.
Lisa. It was this game right here, Creighton UCSB. Yeah,
It
she
was-
very good.
I love when women come in and commentate. Her ESPN. Who is that?
Doris Burke.
Yes, I love her when
Love
she
Doris
comes in and
Burke.
commentates game. Awesome.
And then I do believe last bit here, I'll show you this last sequence. You can take it for what it's worth. Again, I think potentially. Oh, never mind.
There's
This
some
isn't.
time.
I thought this. I thought they showed the. Never mind. I don't have the final sequence. I lied to you. Not my fault. Just definitely my fault. And so Creighton survives, and then we move on to the next game in that region, Virginia, Ohio. I told you, if there was one big hit I got in this first round, it was I 100% believed Ohio was winning this shit. And they did. Straight up. Loved it. Jason Preston and Ben Vanderplas for president.
What a name. Is his full name Benjamin? I want it to be
Bennett,
Benjamin.
actually. I don't know. You must not have caught
That
part of this
is
game.
even better.
Get this. Tony Bennett, the head coach of Virginia, played with Ben Vanderplas's dad at Green Bay when they both played for Tony Bennett's dad. And the Vanderplas father had so much respect for the Bennett family that he named his son Bennett. And then
That is awesome.
That's great little drops of knowledge that were imparted upon me during this game by the commentary. We have a couple of highlights before we get into the deep analysis. We love this. It is the boy, Big Ben Vanderplas. He got hot. He's wet.
Off hard hedge, deep three goes down. Ben Vanderplas. It feels like some March magic. In a day devoid of upsets, there may.
Bang. I don't think that. Oh yeah, and then this one. I will get into a little bit of analysis before I say this because this play is part of my analysis, right? We had Jason Preston. I told you about him. I knew he was going to be the best player on the floor. Very quality guard. He ends up with a near triple-double, 11 points, 13 assists, 8 rebounds. His buddy Ben Vanderplas puts up 17, 5, and 4. But the really
You have
game...
that backwards, buddy.
What?
He had 13 rebounds, 8 assists.
My bad.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify for our viewers.
Sorry. I did not mean to screw that up. I wrote it down wrong. That's on me.
You're going to jail.
Go to jail. But really the kind of game-winning play comes right here from Ben Roderick. I'm going to just say it this way. This man has some cojones for shooting the ball like this. He had to, right? I'm pretty sure it was late in the shot clock, but just absolutely clutch. This really gave Ohio the cushion they needed to close out the win.
Vanderplas bails him out. Shot clock winding down. Roderick shot fake and lets it fly.
So that goes from a near shot clock violation, turnover on Ohio when they're only up 4 with a minute to go, to they're up 7 on that big three, again by Ben Roderick. I really like this Bobcats team. I was really hoping they could make the Sweet 16, and I've already spoiled it by saying Creighton made it before, so I don't feel bad. They just came up a little short in the second round. We'll talk about that in a bit, and we'll move on unless you have something else you want to add to this one.
Only things that I saw were Ohio +6 on turnovers. Virginia had 13 team fouls. One thing that hurt Virginia the most was their three-point shooting, 8 for 31, which is only about 26% to round it up. Those can really hurt you against a team like this, who, from what March Madness has taught me, when teams get streaky, they get hot, and they stay hot. So when you're not hot, you're not gonna win. So. That's my only overview of the game. I loved it. I'm glad Ohio won. I wish they could have beat Creighton. I lived in Omaha for a while, and Creighton is just a whole bunch of preppy bastards. So that's all I gotta say on that one.
Great analysis here from the one and only Denver McFarland, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Moving on, we can run through this game kind of quick. Number 6 USC versus number 11 Drake, winner of that play-in game. Evan Mobley, the presumed number 2 overall pick, 17 points, 11 rebounds. Hopefully I wrote that one down correctly. And USC holds Drake to only 19 points in the second half. Takes care of business pretty handily.
Yep.
Moving on, number 3 Kansas, number 14 Eastern Washington. I will admit this was honestly the best surprise game for me out of the first round. Really enjoyed watching this Eastern Washington team. The Groves brothers, baby. I don't know if you caught any of this game. It was one of the earlier games in the day. Tanner and Jacob Groves, which is a junior and sophomore brother pairing for Eastern Washington. They combine, well, rather, I'll give them their individual love. Tanner, the big man, scores 35 points, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks. And his younger brother, Jacob, 23 points of his own and 9 rebounds. These dudes really kept him in it against a good Kansas team, a Kansas team that's been playing well down the stretch, even though they had to sit out the Big 12 tournament due to the COVID stuff. Kansas answered with 23 from Marcus Garrett, 22 from David McCormick, and 18 from Ochai Agbaji, which is why it was an incredibly high-scoring game. I believe it was 93-84. That's just me pulling the score from off the top of my head. I think that's right.
Yep, you're right.
I don't have it written down anywhere. But this was just a great surprise for me. I didn't really. Kansas won, and like everybody pretty much picked Kansas, but this was a wild game.
Yeah, it was. I did get to watch bits and pieces. This game was going on right when my family came into town, but I still got to watch a little bit. At certain points in this game, I literally thought KU was going to choke against Eastern Washington, and I was like, bruh, don't do that. I can't lose this game in the bracket.
That's funny. And then the next game was going to be number 7 Oregon versus number 10 VCU. We got the word fairly early on during the day on Saturday that this was unfortunately declared a no contest in favor of Oregon because VCU just had too many COVID positives. That is a crying shame. Obviously, we'd love to see the game, but we got to give VCU just the round of applause. Great season. If you make the NCAA tournament, you're a good team. It's a shame they weren't able to play, but I will say I'm glad we only lost one game to COVID.
Yeah.
Knock on wood. And then the last game of this region, the first round, number 2 Iowa, 15 Grand Canyon. We saw Luka Garza, perhaps the player of the year, with 24 points. The team scored a bunch. I think they got up in the mid to high 80s. But the thing that really troubled me, and this is a little bit of foreshadowing too, they let this Grand Canyon team hang around. We know this Iowa team isn't the greatest defensively. They can score with just about anybody, but defense kind of comes and bites them. But they only played to a draw in the second half against a Grand Canyon team that they should have probably blown out. Moving on to the second round in this region. First game was kind of a fun one. Gonzaga, Oklahoma. Yep. First game, by the way, we're going about it. Obviously, we know that a different game occurred first. We'll get to that in a minute. Gonzaga, Oklahoma. If I took this for what the announcers said, so if the announcers were wrong, please don't crucify me. Gonzaga shot a season low 49.1% in this game. We talked a little bit off podcast last night about this game, obviously. If that's your season low, holy shit.
Yeah.
49%? That's some teams might be happy to get to that in a game. We'll get to a team that would have loved to shoot 49% in a game here in a little bit. OU did shoot marginally better. They got right at 50%, and they got 27 points from their boy Austin Reeves. But unfortunately, that wasn't even close to enough. They still lost by 16 points. Gonzaga really just kind of took care of business. They got 30 points and 13 rebounds from Drew Timme, and then 16 apiece from Corey Kispert and Jalen Suggs. If you're going to play that well and still not come within 16, we already knew this, but I'll say it again. It's going to take a lot to beat this Gonzaga team.
Yeah, Gonzaga is way more dominant than I thought they were. I didn't watch them besides the tournament, and man, they have a whole nother, like you said earlier, they have a whole nother gear
that they can go to, and when they turn it on, man, they can run you out of the gym in a hurry. A couple little quick highlights for you. Nothing flashy on this first one. Just watch Corey Kispert stroke here, Denver. This dude he pures it.
Ooh.
Now, obviously, wide ass open. You're not going to get much more wide open than that, but if you're going to end up leaving a guy like Corey Kispert open from 3, you just kiss your ass goodbye, to be honest. I mean, pardon my French, but that's just tough. Jalen Suggs had this really good finish at the rim.
Ooh.
I mean, that is just about impossible, and yet Jalen's...
He's going to be a really high pick in the NBA draft this upcoming year too. And then we already said it, the man that really was the man of the day for them, Drew Timme. I mean,
spinning inside. Look for Timme.
If you're scoring 30 points against a high major team like Oklahoma,
is feeling it. That middle pick and roll. And Timme gets up the court.
And Denver loves his mustache.
Yeah, dude, that's I love it. He was just talking about guys who should have been popping the wings. Drew Timme.
Into the post, Timme. Good seal, good hands. Not just the feet, good hands. Oh no, he does the work early.
I mean, it's a lot. It's just a lot of the same here from Timme. He's got just unbelievable footwork. I won't watch the whole highlight just for the sake of time, but that dude is just so smooth. He's got that buttery smooth post game, and he's going to be a big reason why Gonzaga very well might win the national title here coming up very soon. Next game,
fundamental moves in the post.
Yeah. Next game was that Creighton, Ohio game. All 5 Creighton starters reached double figures, led by Marcus Zagorowski, 20 points. Christian Bishop put up 12 points, 15 rebounds. Tough day for Jason Preston and Ben Vander Plas. They only combined for 13 points. I think Vander Plas had 10 rebounds, and Preston almost got a double-double with rebounds and assists again, but it just wasn't quite anywhere close to enough. Creighton really controlled it throughout and moved on. So we'll get Creighton Gonzaga next round. Next game, Kansas USC. I think I'm recovering. That was the last game I believe we got to see, and I'm still recovering from it. What USC did to that Kansas team, I expected them to win. I did not expect them to win like that or anything close to that. Kansas simply forgot to show up.
Yeah, 29% from field goals, 6 for 25 on threes. Get out rebounded by 16. Didn't come to play.
And then USC on the counterpoint, they shoot 57% from the field and 61% from three. Marcus Garrett was the only Jayhawk to reach double figures in scoring, and the Mobley brothers combined for 27 points, 21 rebounds, 9 assists, and 4 blocks. It was just absolutely dominant. I should have remembered the final score. It was 85-51. I made the comment to my father, I wonder if a 6 seed has ever beaten a 3 seed by 40 points at one point in this game. Because it honestly was so mind-numbing to me what I was watching. Congratulations to USC. They're very deserving of it. Obviously, they really took care of business in their first 2 games. Really, the game that was, I feel like this one you didn't really maybe know it was coming, but the writing might have been on the wall after the way Iowa played in their first game. Number 2 Iowa, number 7 Oregon. Obviously, Oregon not having to play that first round game. Maybe some teams thought, or maybe some people thought they were going to come out slow. That was definitely not the case. Came out very fast. Iowa's defense cost them in the end. What a shocker there. We kind of were saying that for the last several weeks watching this Iowa team. They're great offensively, can't defend. I saw a stat something though that Oregon is something like it was either 11-3 or 14-3 when their guard Will Richardson plays, and he's back and healthy now, and they just looked really, really good. Luka Garza put up 36 and 9, and it didn't even feel like it made a dent.
No, and here's why. It's because Iowa had three starters who scored 0 points.
No points.
None.
I had that note too. That's absolutely unacceptable.
No, you can't win like that. And then you got Oregon over here who's shooting 56% from the field, right?
That's a lot. I feel like that's a lot to do with, again, Iowa's not playing defense. You look at the highlights for this game that I'll pull up here in a second. It was literally just a dunk show from Oregon. You should not, if you're a good basketball team, you cannot be giving up this many dunks. We'll just let this play in the background while we talk over it with it muted. But you just see, I'll keep track if you want to talk, Denver. That's 1 dunk.
Yeah, so I feel bad for Luka Garza, right? He really tries, and then in his post-game press conference, he tears up. He could very well be the player of the year. There's a great contention between him, Sumu, and Cunningham, but it's just they didn't come to play, stats-wise. And then you go over to Oregon. Oregon had two players in 20-plus points. They had 4 players plus 15, right? They're playing to win, and it's truly a spectacle. I think Oregon USC round of 16 is going to be a fantastic game overall. It won't matter because I think whoever wins is going to get rolled by Gonzaga. But for what it was a upset to me. I didn't expect Iowa to lose because I knew of Luka Garza prior to the podcast, prior to starting. He was the one college player I had heard of. So It's just unfortunate. Didn't come to play. Didn't play defense. Look, like you see on the screen right there, all 5 Iowa players were walking on defense right there. All of them. Where's the help? Where's the help defense? There's nothing
it was
going on.
nowhere. It was nowhere literally all day. We're getting up to it now. Is there any more dunks? Or is this the end? We do have another dunk. Oh my!
Like, where's the defense? Nowhere.
I don't know if you have my webcam up or if you're focused on the screen. 10 dunks in a game from Oregon.
Stupid.
Unacceptable. Stupid. All of it. You just can't let that happen. And for that reason, Iowa, you have to say they deserved to lose, and vice versa, Oregon deserved to win. And now we move on. The final region. As you were saying, this might be the perfect time to say it, right? The Pac-12 really showing out in this tournament. We'll talk about it just briefly once we wrap up the show with a couple of fun stats from the opening weekend. But Pac-12 easily the most impressive conference. When you would probably have to argue that they're the most maligned conference in terms of how they were talked about most of the season and heading into this thing. But getting right into the last region, I think it's the East region.
Yep.
Michigan number 1 seed versus Texas Southern. Michigan only wins by 16. Very balanced Michigan attack. They kind of let Texas Southern stick around, but it never really felt like it was in danger. Honestly, in a weird way, the most impressive player in this game was a guy from Texas Southern. It was Michael Weathers, who had 24 points, which, I mean, I got to give him credit against a team that defends like Michigan. That's kind of hard to do. And a fun fact that I wanted to impart upon the audience from what I learned in the first 4 game that Texas Southern played. This is Michael Weathers' 3rd school. He played previously at the University of Miami, Ohio, and Oklahoma State. But again, even though it was only a 16-point game, I really felt like Michigan controlled it most of the way and wasn't really in any danger despite it not being the biggest blowout you've ever seen. LSU St. Bonaventure, the 8-9 matchup. I picked St. Bonaventure, and I still think St. Bonaventure might be the better team, but LSU they have Cam Thomas, and that's about the difference in this game. He had 27 points. Trendon Watford and Darius Days each had a double-double for LSU. And really, I think LSU was just there. They were peaking at the right time. They were playing really hot after going to the SEC title game. I should have probably seen that coming, but I'll let you add whatever you want to that game.
Nah, simple games. Here's me in this bracket. You know, I'm looking at the East. Like, the next game, blowout. Florida State, easy win. Like, there's only 2 games in the round of 64. Like, this is the most predictable bracket.
You'd probably have to say that, yeah.
Like, the
one little pod we'll get to definitely a little interesting, but this one's been chalk more so than most of the others. That game you were referring to, number 5 Colorado versus number 12 Georgetown. This is the game that I think I said it on. I didn't buy into Georgetown after they won those 4 straight games in the Big East tournament. They only had won 9 games before that all season, and I think that was pretty indicative. I feel, in my mind, they were a departed case from, after further review, this was after the podcast, our last podcast, they're definitely a different case than Oregon State. Oregon State still won, 16 or 17 games in their season. They just lost several games, but if you're a team that's only winning 9 games in the regular season, you hadn't won more than back-to-back games all season, I just have a hard time trusting you. And I I think that showed out here. Colorado obviously got hot. They went 16 to 23 or 16 to 25 rather from 3. But Georgetown just looked disinterested in guarding for the most part most of the game. And that's why Colorado, a team that does not score a ton of points, almost put up 100 on them.
Yeah.
Moving forward.
Florida State,
UNC Greensboro. By contrast, since these two teams were going to play each other, Colorado made 16 threes. Florida State made none.
Oh, wow.
In this game against UNC Greensboro, but that didn't matter. Their length, it looked like, bothered Greensboro at times. The one big takeaway I'm going to say is Greensboro's Isaiah Miller can really play ball. He had a really nice highlight at one point where he blocked a shot on one end and then made a really nice play in the lane on the other. But this was a relatively comfortable 10-point win for the Seminoles. BYU UCLA, the 6 versus 11. Obviously UCLA playing their way in against Michigan State. And I think I picked against it, but I saw it coming a mile away. I think it's now 9 of 10 years a team from the first 4 has advanced past the first round. So one team typically uses that as a springboard and wins their first round game. This year it was UCLA. I got to give the shout out to Johnny Juzang.
27 points.
27 points in this game. He also had 23 against Michigan State the other night, and then in their second round game, which we'll talk about in a bit, he goes for 17. This dude's been as hot as just about anybody in this entire tournament, and big reason why UCLA really took care of business. They were way more efficient.
Only three turnovers in the whole game.
They answered every BYU surge. BYU cut it from 14 down to 4 at one point. UCLA got it back up to, I think, 11, and then BYU surged back to within 7 and looked like they might cut it down to, I think it was 5, and then UCLA gets a good stop, and they held that the rest of the way for the W. The next game is one that hurts my heart because you know that I put a little effort into this, and my math told me, watch out for Abilene Christian. And I said, what the fuck are you smoking? Texas just won the Big 12. Like, why? And I should have listened to the math, essentially. But get this. This is perhaps my favorite part of all of it. We'll share the tweet that has some of these stats on the screen, but we'll also read them out loud. Abilene Christian, in their upset of Texas, 53-52, they shot under 30% from the field. They made just 3 3-pointers and shot 16.7%. Had no blocked shots to Texas's 9, had 6 fewer assists than Texas, and at one point trailed by 9 points. And in a game where the winning team only scored 53, 9 points seems like a pretty considerable mountain. But here's the deal that you couldn't look past. They created absolute chaos.
Yeah.
They forced, I didn't write down the exact number. I know it was in 22. The 20s. 23 Texas turnovers. Really just made the Longhorns uncomfortable. They were a team that it's very different than Loyola Chicago, but in the same sort of way that they try to impart their effort on defense into you and really make you play their game. They were very successful against Texas in that fact, and there's a reason they pulled off the upset. I believe this was another one. This was one of the last games on Saturday, and with their win, 4 teams seeded 13 or higher reached the round of 32 for the first time in NCAA tournament history. Fun little tidbit. And this is, I do think I have the last little sequence here where they have Joe Pleasant. This is what I loved, right? it was very similar to the Ohio game earlier in the day. Jason Preston only shoots about 60% from the line, and he was sent to the line for 2 free throws late in the game. And I look at my dad and I say, yeah, but he's 100% in the clutch, and he knocks down 2 free throws. Same thing with Joe Pleasant, shoots about 60% from the line, and he's going to the line down 1. Obviously, this highlight is the second free throw. Down 1 with 1 second on the clock. And I look at my dad and I'm like, I bet this guy's 100% in the clutch too. Knocks down the first one, and then I'll let the call do it from there.
No timeouts for Texas. Abilene Christian with the lead. Texas has got to go the distance.
Down both of them.
Brock Cunningham's going to take it out from the baseline. The baseball court pass. Believe the unbelievable. Abilene Christian with the...
I hated that one, guy.
This is another one. Again, Lisa comes up again. Great call on that one.
Yep.
It's so that was the biggest chaos again. Wish I would have trusted the math. Oh well. Number 7 UConn and number 10 Maryland. Maryland finished the first half on a 15-3 run and really never let UConn back in the game again. They never got back within 5. And you probably have the exact numbers, but UConn shot like absolutely freaking terrible from the field.
Yeah, UConn shot 32%.
Yeah.
7 for 23 on 3-pointers.
It wasn't good.
Free throws, they only made 5 of 12.
That's a whole lot of bad shooting means you're probably not going to win the game unless you're Abilene Christian.
Yeah, literally.
So that was just kind of an ugly game. I think both of us took UConn. Maybe you didn't, but I know I did because I thought James Bouknight was going to be enough for UConn, and he definitely was not. That's on me. Oh, I never played this highlight for Johnny Juzang. I'm so sorry. We're not going to go back to it for the sake of time. Second round in this region was pretty stock standard. Again, a lot of chalk, except for that one little pod that had both UCLA and Abilene Christian, but UCLA, the higher seeded team, and definitely not looking like an 11 seed at this point. They moved on. That was me getting ahead of myself. First game was Michigan LSU, easily the best game of this region's second day. Michigan answered some of the questions that we had about them without Isaiah Livers. They were really tested in this game because LSU had Cam Thomas go off for another 30 points, and Javonte Smart had 27 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. And they survived that. Unlike Ohio State, unlike Florida against ORU, they withstood 2 big outbursts from good players. They answered with some of their not so heralded players stepping up. We hear a lot about Hunter Dickinson, the very good young big man. We hear a lot about Isaiah Livers. Franz Wagner is another name that gets brought up a lot. But Eli Brooks had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. And shout out to Sean D. Brown off the bench. He had a big game against Ohio State several weeks ago when I shouted out Michigan. He had 21 to go along with Brooks today, and he was a big reason why they won. I'll play one highlight from this game that I very much enjoyed, and maybe I enjoy it because of the caption was pretty good too. Franz will pump you up. That's I believe it's Saturday Night Live skit reference from like the 90s, right? Very good. This was late in the game. LSU's kind of trying to press and trap, and Michigan pulls off one of the more efficient press breaks I've ever seen. This is probably more to LSU's discredit than Michigan's credit, but I just enjoyed this.
And remember, Watford is out there with 4 fouls for LSU. They break the press. Wagner the other way! Franz will pump you up! Michigan by 10!
To Dickinson in the middle of the floor so
yeah,
easily
they let it get to Dickinson middle of the floor, and he just fires a 50-foot outlet pass to Franz Wagner for the dunk. Pretty easy there. Michigan takes care of business. Florida State, Colorado. This was another one of those games similar to, I can't think of what the game was. That was a big rock fight that we talked about already, but it was like 24-20 at half. Like, it was super low scoring. And then FSU just kind of pulled away in the second half. Colorado shot like shit and turned the ball over a ton. And if Denver has told you one thing all day today, it's that won't win you many games.
Yep.
Next game was that UCLA Abilene Christian. We kind of already talked about it. Abilene Christian has another bad shooting night. They shoot 30% again. Very similar to the UT game, like in terms of the game that Abilene Christian was able to play and played on the offensive end looked similar to the UT game. But the difference was UCLA took care of the ball. They only had 8 turnovers, which is a far cry from the 23 or whatever Texas had. Just a solid game by the Bruins, and they're back in the Sweet 16 and repping the Pac-12 again. And the last game of this little analysis that we've now gone on for about 2 hours with. Been a lot of fun. Thank you for sticking with. Hey, a lot of games, obviously. A lot of games to talk about. Number 2, Alabama. Number 10, Maryland. What it came down to was Alabama got super, super hot from 3 as a team. They shot 16 of 33 from behind the line. They had Jaden Shackelford get 21 points. John Petty Jr. had 20. Javon Quinterly off the bench had 14 points and 11 assists. And that counteracted Aaron Wiggins for Maryland having 27 points and 6 rebounds. The biggest thing for me in this game, and then I'll leave it to you, because I'm about out of energy after all this. Alabama's best player, I believe he was the SEC Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year, Herb Jones. He only plays 17 minutes in this game because of foul trouble. Only 6 points and 6 rebounds. Alabama still wins by 20 and still gets up to 96 points. That's without their best player doing his thing. Alabama's looking real good right now.
Yeah. One of my coworkers, so I have several coworkers, but one of them came in on Monday, and his bracket was in the top 12,000 on ESPN.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's stupid, and he has Bama winning it. He's doing pretty hot for himself. So, all right, let's wrap this thing up. I'll use my last little bit of energy to get going here. Unless Dierks has something to say.
No, I just wanted to maybe point out. I'll save it. I'll save this for a different time.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up right here. Because like I said, we've already been going for 2 hours. We appreciate you for staying with us. If you're watching the video product or if you're listening, no matter what, we absolutely love you here. I'll let Denver do our little social media plug, and I'll send us off.
All right. Well, first off, thanks for sticking around. If you're sticking around, if you couldn't stick around, I know when we edit and chop this up, we'll have this by region, most likely, region by region. Follow us on Dierks and Denver Podcast on Twitter, YouTube. Subscribe to us there. That's where you'll get these shorter formatted segments where you don't have to maybe listen to the whole podcast when we go live. You can take your break and listen there. Communicate with us on there. We like to talk back. Dierks and Denver, Spotify. If you're an audio listener, that's where we like to. Primarily, that's where we promote our stuff, but we have our stuff all over on different podcast sites. So check us out on there. It's just Dierks and Denver Podcast. That's our social media plug. We enjoy talking to you. Comment, subscribe, listen, tweet at us. Our DMs are open all the time. We don't shut our DMs. And that's our social media.
A lot of fun today. I appreciate you guys hanging out, talking some college basketball, hanging out while Denver and I, rather, talk some college basketball. A lot more games to come. I'm excited. I know that we've now converted Denver to the ways of college basketball. He's got to be excited for the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 coming up starting on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. More good days of basketball. We love you guys. And, wherever you are, wherever you're going, have a great day, and we'll catch you next time. We'll see you.